everyone, my name's Madison and I'm here to show you the tools that I included in my parenting survival kit. So first, I implemented the tools that I did. Most of them are from what I remember from my childhood and what I remember my parents kind of using to help get me through childhood. And in turn, I want to kind of flip them so that they're more attunedly helping the parents. And I was a very internalized child. I really didn't project my emotions very much, so a lot of these tools I think are also ways for parents to kind of help pull children away from doing that and being able to identify their emotions and relate to them on another level as they get older, especially throughout this time. But first and foremost, for the newborns, so the first one is pretty self-explanatory. I think it's important to have two blankets. One is the blanket for the newborn, obviously. They're new into the world. They're in this area of just a big misunderstanding and confusion and uncertainty. And what the blanket kind of serves to do is reenact that whole womb service thing as discussed in the book and just make them feel safe and everything. But the second blanket, more importantly, is for the parents. And it's more of a metaphorical blanket, but by all means, I think they should have a blanket with them because it reminds them that parents need to be getting plenty of sleep. You know, it's a really stressful time, and babies, as much as they do sleep a lot, they're not sleeping in long periods of time, and it's exhausting for the parents. And one of the most important things that I think the book taught us was how important it is for parents to be projecting positive feelings, especially onto newborn babies who are touching you almost all of the time. And in order to project those positive feelings, parents are going to need to sleep, because when they have sleep, they have time to recharge their batteries, they bring up their patience, and they're less likely to transfer those negative feelings that they were previously experiencing onto the child. And then second, I think it's important for them to have a Me Too program. The book obviously talks all about how helpful support groups are for parents and everything, and what I think is special about this program is rather than focusing it on making it a parenting class, it's a time, whether it be a live feed of parents all just coming together, but ultimately they're just talking about what they're experiencing in this moment, whether it be frustration, happiness, just anything at all, and just fostering that community that they're not alone in this whole journey and that there's other people feeling the exact same way, and just kind of community building in that respect. And I think it's really going to also help because it helps to increase the paternal self-efficacy, and that in turn translates to them feeling like more adept parents, which benefits the baby as well. And then finally, I think it's important that every parent plans to have an extra set of hands on them, whether it be a really close family friend or a family member. You can't do everything at once, and as you are going through the parenthood journey, you quickly realize this. So I think having someone close by that's always able to help step in, because parents aren't always together all at the same time as well, and just having that person who's always there who can just take the baby off the hands of the parents so the parents can do something else, I think is just going to be really beneficial. I mean, grandparents are a great prime example of an extra set of hands. They can have like these very strong impacts on children. They help them feel like they have kind of a partner in crime and someone to let off steam to when maybe a parent is being too tough on them. But in offering this direct help, it's going to help the parents feel like they're reaching the demands of their new role, which again is those positive feelings that they're able to project onto the child. And then as we enter the early childhood years, I think it's really important that every parent starts practicing the act of mindfulness. And the book that I chose for this is called The Little Book of Mindfulness. It was developed by Dr. Patrice Collard. And what she does is she pulls from the Buddhist teachings of mindfulness, which is all about just making sure that you're staying present, you're checking in with yourself, you're identifying what kind of emotions you're feeling, you're identifying why you feel that way, and you're just really becoming at peace with those emotions that you're feeling and realizing that it's okay to have those emotions, and emotions always go away. So I think if parents take 5 to 10 minutes out of their day during this time, because the child is so needy and demanding, I think every parent's going to have to take those 5 to 10 minutes to themselves and just recenter their focus and everything. And it, again, with the positive feelings, it's going to help the parents feel more calm within themselves and in turn project that onto the child. And they're also going to be able to look at the world more logically, and you're able to transition your emotions from being negative to being positive. And then second, the Amazon Alexa I thought was a really fun thing to include. Kids at this age, they're asking at least 70 questions a day, if not more, and parents, they just don't have all the answers. It doesn't matter. The kids are asking the most ridiculous questions, and so I think in order to continue to facilitate and encourage that environment of creativity and exploration, I think Amazon Alexa is great. I mean, the kids, they're still going towards the parents for their primary source of knowledge. When the parents don't know, they can turn it into a game of playing, let's play Stump Mommy and Daddy, and then let's try and stump Alexa together. And I think it just fosters that educational environment that parents are starting to really hone in on their normal routines in their households and everything like that. And then moving on to the elementary school age group, I think the number one thing parents are going to need at this time is actually a test answer book. This is not to say that they're going to give the kids the answers, but a big part of parenting at this age is being encouraged and almost being expected to make sure that parents are helping children with their homework. And I mean, if you're anything like me, I can't for the life of me remember what type of math I was learning in elementary school. And so I can only imagine that parents who are older than me also can't remember that. So I think just having a test answer booklet with all the children's answers to their homework, having that in their back pockets so that the focus isn't so much on making sure to get to the right answer, but it's more of the process of getting to the answer. Having at least the parents knowing that in the back pocket they have these test answer books, it's going to help keep them calm. And in a calm environment, children are more able to learn. They're more confident in their skills. And again, with the positive feelings, you're really developing those and fostering those. And it's just a good way, I think, for parents to be able to focus more on their child and their development by giving them the answers so that one thing is off the table, that they know they can get to that answer, but they can also work together. And then second, at this stage in life, it's also very important to be establishing a routine, and that expectation and that routine establishment does fall on the parents. So with that being said, I think every parent should go out and buy chalkboard paint and paint the biggest wall in the busiest section of their room, paint it in chalkboard. I mean, it's great for the parents because they can make it into a weekly schedule and they can write down each and everything. I mean, they're so busy during these times, whether it be doing homework, they got to go to work, they got to pick up the kids, they got to go to soccer practice, anything like that. Just writing it down helps take that pressure off the parent because it doesn't have to live in their head. It's right in front of them at all times when it's in the busiest section of the house. It's going to help encourage the parent's competence because they can take their focus off of what they have to do when they know it's right in front of them, and then they can focus once again on helping their child with whatever they need help with. And then moving into early adolescence, I think it would also be really fun to have a lingo book. So at this age, children are hanging out with their friends more. They don't come out to talk to their parents, and that when they are talking to their parents, they're only offering one-word answers. I think with a lingo book, you at least are able to kind of break the ice with the children. And as the book states, you're looking to foster a conversational environment. You're looking to get your kids to open up to you. But I think including a lingo book, and in the lingo book, it just has any sort of fun phrases that kids are saying or whatever terms they use to describe something. I think if a parent has that with them, it just makes it all that more fun to at least talk to their kids, or at the very least get their kids' attentions. I mean, even from a personal example, I remember the second my dad even remotely related to anything that I would talk about on a regular basis, he had my attention almost right away. But I think it also, in a more serious note, helps to facilitate those conversational environments. Children at this age really think that their parents are just there to offer advice and to give judgment. But I think if you just kind of stun them with like a random statement from the lingo book, you're able to show them that not every conversation has to be serious all the time. But then second, is the emotional checklist. This is going back to how I internalize my emotions a lot. I think, and who knows, maybe my parents did do this, but just an emotional checklist, just like a little booklet where parents themselves are taking down notes and taking off a checklist saying, my child is feeling sad because, and then just identifying what sort of nonverbals they're experiencing and everything. And I think in turn, when you're able to, from an away viewpoint, identify what your child is feeling, and when they come and talk to you and you can actually state to them what they're feeling, they feel much more heard. It's kind of an offset branch of the whole idea of active listening. And I think it's just going to help facilitate that conversational environment without stepping on your child's toes, since they are trying to experience the first steps of self-regulation and independence. And then moving on finally to late adolescence, I think the most helpful thing that parents could have at this point is another book that I actually did read as a teenager myself, is Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. And so it's a book all about just how the everyday stresses of life and what you can do to kind of diminish them and accept them and basically break free of them and move forward and put your focus on something else. I think it's going to be so important for parents to have this, because late adolescence is that really tricky time period where teens are entering this state of being completely, fully autonomous, but they still have a little bit of, your parents still have a little bit of authority on you, but it's also just a big time because at this point they're graduating from high school, and whether they go on to college or they go to work, anything of that, I think parents are starting to really not know what their parenting role is within this time, and it is hurtful and it's stressful. And what I remember is my mom actually bought this book for me because I was going through my own changes as I was going into college and everything, but she bought it for herself because I think it helped her to figure out where she stood, and that it was okay for her to not really understand what her role of a parent was, and just kind of accepting those changes. And in turn, I think it projects onto the child really well, because when you can see that your mom or your other parent is just as calm as you're trying to portray, it just instills that more confidence. And then finally, this nonverbal cheat sheet I think is immensely great, powerful and useful when your child is still very much in the midst of high school and all the high school pressures and everything. I mean, at this age, children are increasing their activity and using substances and drugs and everything like that, and it's a very stressful time for the parents. They don't know what their child is doing because of the autonomy, and their child's hiding everything, and or not everything, or just telling half-truths and things like that. I think it would be very beneficial for parents to have a nonverbal cheat sheet where the cheat sheet states the different types of nonverbal cues that maybe your child could be giving you, and then in turn what those could potentially mean. It's not to say that they are direct answers, but I think it at least helps for that stepping stone of parents to, one, not be stepping on the autonomy of the child that they're going through at this time, but also kind of give their peace of mind and trusting more of their judgment in what's worth stepping into and what's worth letting go. But in conclusion, I really did enjoy this project. I really underestimated how much of what your parents just do, either subconsciously or consciously on a regular basis, affects you. And because of that, it's definitely made me reevaluate having children, and I mean, not until later, of course, and just really getting to a place where I would feel ready and I would feel prepared to have a child, because the amount of emotions and how they affect them is just so crazy, and then how much parenthood has just become such a selfless journey that you can possibly do. It's really taught me a lot, but overall I think that I would use a lot of these tools that I've presented today, and it'll definitely be exciting as I enter that time of my life to see what is really useful or what is more high dreaming based on a 21-year-old's opinion of what they think it takes to raise a kid. But other than that, I'd love to hear what you guys think about what I had to say, and hopefully you agree with it. If not, I would love some feedback. But otherwise, thank you everyone for your time, and I hope you have a good night.